Welcome to this edition of FM On Demand. I'm your host, Mike Pizalka. Today, I am speaking with John Sugimura, a corporate chef with management company Taher Inc., about his visiting schools to give presentations on Japanese cuisine. John, thanks for joining us. So tell me about these sessions. I mean, how long do they last? What do you do during them? You just talk? Do you do demos?
There's a variety of different scenarios, but I've been doing it since last year. I started on a dumpling tour. Now I'm on the karaage or Japanese fried chicken tour. And then in the spring, I'm on the fried noodles and skewers or robata yaki tour. Depends on the school. My motivation is to go into the schools, especially during a pandemic, to give them some normalcy, to rally some enthusiasm for food, as a food management company, to give them something exciting to eat. Training for the staff to tempt them away and take them away from heat and serve and make a food program look a lot more exciting with pizza to the left of me and a grill to the right of me. And then you have Japanese cuisine in the middle is very tantalizing to the kids. Right now, I have been doing school-wide. They have shut down the entire food service exclusively except for my meal, which is a really big leap in a short year.
Oh, yeah.
So the current menu, the karaage fried chicken, easily, it's a rice bowl. It has fried chicken on top. It has a spicy mayo. It has salted cabbage. It has homemade quick pickles. Easy for the kids to like. 95% of the kids will eat it. So we cater exclusive to that. It's one day where the kids don't have lots of options. It's one day where we open up their world to some cultural cuisine. We give them an authentic recipe that's 100 years old. That's a complete scratch recipe that the staff have trained and executed under my leadership. But these are the staff who are normally making pizzas and all that other stuff that the kids demand, where we pause and we stop and go, the kids' health, welfare, and safety is Taher's probably biggest, strongest philosophy to support these kids to be successful through food and a really interesting food program. Nobody's going to care about these students more than Taher, and that's why I'm here. Taher supports me to do my food as if my grandma. I'm a second generation Japanese trained chef from Japan. They support me to do the food just as if you were in my grandmother's kitchen, 1935, Sacramento, California.
Is this a presentation before the entire school, or is it in groups? How do you do it?
So originally we started like, oh, please, will a couple kids come to a food demo? Oh no, we're way beyond that. So on the chicken tour of all the schools that I'm visiting, there's a population of upwards of 20,000 kids, and I'll serve upwards of probably 15,000 of those kids the Japanese fried chicken. So now it's school-wide. Yesterday I was at a school, we did 500. Earlier this week we did 600. So this week alone, we did over 1,000 kids eating Japanese fried chicken at 2 schools. Now, before the pandemic, there was a lot more food demos. There was a lot more culinary classes and all that stuff. A lot more interesting, closer, smaller, hands-on opportunities. Next week, I'll be going to Houston and to Arkansas, in Marion, and we're going to have some hands-on classes. In Houston, they have a sushi club. So we're going to do some hands-on specialized video kind of stuff. So we do school-wide, so much enthusiasm, particularly, I will say, with the staff and faculty. They're there in a pandemic, right? And this even kind of brightens their day. So not only is the food building some excitement for the kids, not only do you take kids with dietary needs who are normally excluded from food programs because they're gluten-free or vegans, this menu accommodates it. Now you have faculty who are so excited to eat something other than what maybe a typical school lunch might be. They're just as excited. And we have really high proportion of staff eating on the days that I'm there.
Sounds like you do a couple a week. How many do you do?
Well, I am in a pandemic, I am trying to do as many to be fiscally conservative. I used to do maybe one every 3 or 4 days. Now I'm trying to do 2 in 4 days. But the sheer command for my visits have just skyrocketed, because what school wouldn't want a high quality menu that builds excitement, that's is supportive to the parents' expectations on a food program,
Mhm.
particularly if you're a private school. What school wouldn't want the kids to get excited over food that opens their world, like Japanese cuisine, that gives them a moment to think about the world and different continents, right? What
Sure.
school wouldn't want their relationship with their food management company to continue to build on that crescendo and do more and more? Honestly, in a pandemic, Taher has never been more on top of their food game. And that's why
Mhm.
I'm so proud. I'm a restaurateur. I have a couple of restaurants.
Mhm.
And I have a restaurant in the downtown area of Minneapolis, and I have one at the international airport. So to translate my food into hundreds or thousands was
Mhm.
really overwhelming at one point, but now I'm just having a blast.
And they're also, these fit into school meal programs, the federal school meal programs.
I'm glad you asked that, because here's the magic. Here's the magic. Not only does Japanese cuisine kind of automatically fit into the USDA program,
Mhm.
if the USDA program wants the recipe and the food program to be here, a Japanese cuisine, calories, sodium, all that stuff is here naturally. So when you get the karage don, or the fried chicken rice bowl, you're getting 4 ounces, all your grains of
Mhm.
rice. You're getting 5 ounces of protein. It's fried in potato starch, not a flour, so it's automatically gluten free.
Okay.
It has less saturated fat because you're cooking with starch versus flour. And I can
Mhm.
go on, but you get my point. Then you have
Sure.
homemade pickles and all this stuff without all the extra. Japanese food does not have any of those three horrible preservatives in it ever. So everything about the food is really kind of a celebration, because we're getting good food, we're meeting USDA or not, whether it's required or not, and the kids love the food.
Is it,
Usually you don't get all of that. You can't check all the boxes.
that's very true. Are these various age ranges, or do you concentrate on high schools or grade schools?
So, for instance, in a week, I'll be at Marion Public Schools in Arkansas. We're doing 2,500 for
Mm.
lunch. We're doing their 3 elementary schools. They're doing their 7th grade school. They're doing their 8th and 9th grade school together, and they're doing the high school. So we're covering, and a school board event. We're covering every stakeholder in the district. It's going to be a blast.
Sounds great. How did you, maybe you covered this already, but how did you get started doing this, and why?
So this is probably going to be very different than what you're expecting my answer to be.
Well,
So I had a professional career. I do Japanese food to help tell my Japanese American heritage, to
mhm.
tell that story, to feel like I'm part of the world, to embrace myself and have the world embrace me. You can imagine having a restaurant with 100 people a night coming in saying, "We love you," or "Your food is great." Is very affirming.
Mhm.
That's why I do it. I don't do it because I'm a foodie, which I am, but my first primary reason is to tell the story of my grandparents coming over, my grandmother being a single parent, my grandmother opening a restaurant to be self-sufficient before World War II, then to close the restaurant on a Wednesday night and to be ordered into the war camps. My aunt's uncle's dad, grandmother went into Tule Lake for 4.5 years,
Mhm.
lost everything, came out and started over. That would have been the last chapter of that book. With me doing food to tell that story, I've added multiple chapters. Then to have this relationship with Taher, where they're saying, "We support you exactly as you are. Don't change a thing." I get to tell my story this week alone. I told my story to over 1,000 kids, right?
Mhm.
I got to tell them one by one in little ways of what it's like to be marginalized as a high school student, and how I found my way to celebrate everything that some people might have tried to make me feel different or odd about. It can be really powerful. And every week when I'm in a school and you have another 500 kids going, "Oh, Japan, that's so cool." Oh, when you have kids saying like, "I didn't know food was so good in Japan. I thought everything was fish. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to go to Japan when I get older. Oh my God, maybe I'll go to college in Japan." For them to start dreaming and include something other than what's within 10 blocks of their house, that they're looking at the world and they're opening up and they're being accepting, embracing, engaging, all that over food.
Mhm.
and I was able to play a part. That's why I do it. That's why I do it. And they get a great meal, and it's healthier, and I'm not contributing to childhood obesity.
Well, our Japanese tourism board probably loves you too. Uh,
Right.
you mentioned COVID. Obviously, we're in a difficult time right now. Talk about the importance of something like this during this period when, kids are sometimes isolated or things are strange.
So, you know, the only thing that I wish for the kids is to have some normalcy. The leadership at Taher is give them what they want, give them what they need in a pandemic,
Mhm.
give them some better than average food, give them food that they can forget about other things for a while, they can have a little bit more fun with. In the pandemic, I can't say it across the board, but clearly expanding the food options, there's no downside. Even I have eaten more bagels and English muffins in the last year than I have in my entire life. So to give them new food, interesting food, food with a story, with lots of enthusiasm, embraced by love, with faculty that are just having just as much excitement and fun as they are, it really is quite extraordinary when you think this is all over food.
Mhm.
In the pandemic, these kids, you can see their spirits being lifted up. You can see faculty who are on distance learning and that can come in for the day. I can't tell you just the other on the ones this week how many said, I'm on distant learning today, but I came into work because I wanted to eat this meal. I've had this on my calendar for 2 weeks. I get to see my coworkers. I'm going to eat in the teacher's lounge. You know what I mean? Like really, this was very planful, very deliberate to fully engage and participate in it because in a pandemic, it counters the isolation, it counters the bad eating, it counters the boredom. It's a win all the way around.
Sounds like it. Any other memorable reactions from either kids or staff? Things that kind of stuck in your mind?
You know, it's you wouldn't think it would click as much, but when I'm talking about food around the world and I'm talking about feeling different and how fun this is for me, you can see the light and it click in the kids' head what
Mhm.
I'm saying. I don't have to go so specific to say that I was called a Jap from a bully in 8th grade once to feel the burn and the sting of being marginalized. I don't have to go that far, but they get what I'm saying. They get what I'm saying is that this is a meal that can create inclusivity, that I accept you, you accept me. You know, the kids who are shy come out, the kids who um, only eat exactly pizza or chicken tenders and nothing in between. They open up their world to try something interesting. And
Mhm.
that's what's really fun for me is that you can see kids going, I'm opening up, I'm making myself vulnerable to, I'm going to fully participate. And just that little bit of light and that little bit of sparkle, a little bit of pep to their step. Do you know what I mean? That day, it really makes it fun.
Sounds great, John. Thank you for joining us this week on FM On Demand. You can find more FM On Demand videos at food-management.com/videos.